I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by my co-host with Harrison Bader like hair,
Yeah, it's a weird ordeal. Katie is just proving to be childish.
which is why I don't feel I would give $5 million to Jack Campbell.
I don't know. Baseball is one of those sports where anyone who makes the playoffs really can be a contender.
I think the Padres definitely do it.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
Kyrie Irving does have the track record of not being a great locker room fit, or even good locker room fit.
Bader got some luscious locks. I gotta say it.
This is Zach Bigley, the broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin. You guys better subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We are going to focus on NBA awards. So there's more than just the MVP award, but we're going to talk about the MVP award, and we're going to talk about Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, and Coach of the Year. And I am joined by the human stat sheet, Austin.
That's my favorite one so far, Kevin. That's my favorite one.
It? Oh shoot! I'll say Statmaster.
I don't think you've used it before.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying that's my favorite one you've mentioned so far.
Okay, cool.
That's a good one. Where do you want to start on this NBA award talk? I think we should leave MVP for last, but our journey there, I don't care. So
I agree with you. MVP for the last. Keep the listeners waiting. Let's go Rookie of the Year.
So Rookie of the Year, I do not think is a tight race. It may be tight between 2 and 3. And I'll do 3 first. Jalen Williams for OKC. He's had an outstanding year for a team contending for a play-in spot. Next, Walker Kessler as well. Continuing for a playoff spot, or play-in spot. Great defensively, averaging 8 and 8 with 2.5 blocks or so. But easily, Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero, the player I would have taken with the number 1 pick, the player I hoped the Magic would take, and they made the right choice. And now they could get a number 1 pick again and the 5th pick as well, and they could be on their way to a dynasty of young players. But Paolo easily is number 1. I'd be absolutely shocked if you had anyone else.
Yeah, I agree with you. I have Paolo number 1, and like you said, 2 and 3 a little bit different. I show that here as I have Walker Kessler 3rd, and I have Jalen Williams at 2.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that. 2 and 3, I think are very switchable, but 1 is not.
Yes. I agree with you very much, and same to me with the Most Improved Player. I'm curious what you think of my 2 and 3, but I think number 1 I think is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah, number 1 we can both say it's Lauri Markkanen. There is no question, but I'll let you do 2 and 3 before I say mine.
I have Jalen Brunson, then I have Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay, so I have Jalen Brunson at my 3. Do you have him at your 3? Is that what you're saying?
Or no, I have Jalen at my 2. Tyrese Halliburton. Did you just say Halliburton at 3?
No, I said Brunson at 3.
Brunson's my 2. Halliburton's my 3.
Okay, well, I have Brunson at 3, and I have Nick Claxton at 2. A player that has improved more in more minutes, and he is a part of my Defensive Player of the Year 3. And, I mean, he's had a great season. He's improved wildly, and I think he deserves to be in this list.
He was close to my Defensive Player of the Year, but he just missed it.
So okay, well, we can go into that next. What's your looking at for Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm going to go Brook Lopez 1, 2 Jaren Jackson, and then 3 is Bam Adebayo.
Okay. I'll go from 3 to 1. My 3 is Jaren Jackson Jr. My 2, Nick Claxton. My 1, Brook Lopez. Lopez has to be it. He's doing it for a top team in the East while staying on the court, and that's the problem with Jaren Jackson. He fouls way too much for me to have him in Defensive Player of the Year conversation seriously. Claxton's very, very close, but it's just Lopez has been dominant. He had 7 blocks the other day. He's just been – and I know people say, oh, it's always centers, but there's a lot of responsibility that majority of really good defensive centers have, and Brook Lopez definitely deserves this.
Yeah, and just look at a team that doesn't have defensive centers, a.k.a. Dallas Mavericks. It's like they don't even, guard one side of the court.
Yeah. We'll see if they even make the plan.
Yeah, man. It's a rough time for Mavericks fans. Glad I deleted Twitter at the right time. But more on Jaren Jackson. I know he's leading the NBA in blocks per game, but I had him at 2 because I remember there being a scandal on how
Yeah,
a
on
home
the
team.
extra stats, and that his stats at
Yeah.
home are wildly different than his stats on the road, and that's played a small part. But I think the fouls are the main reason why he has to be below Brook Lopez. Jaren Jackson fouls out of the game. He does not play enough minutes per game because of his fouls, and he fouls too much, and that gives the other team points. When you foul, you give the other team points.
Yes, very true. Yeah, I think those are good points. Yeah, I'm surprised we agree on Brook Lopez as Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, he's been the best defender. Let's
Yeah.
go to six man. This one I think is a two-headed race for number one. Number three could be between a couple guys. My number three is Bobby Portis. He's been great, high caliber rebounder, averaging near 10 points per game, 14 points per game, around there. It's gone down a little bit since he's come back from an injury, and Jay Crowder's filled in with some of his minutes, but he's still played very well. But my 1 and 2 are so close, and it's mainly just because of seeding. My 2 is Emmanuel Quickly. My 1 is Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon's been exceptional. Quickly, extremely good. And if the Knicks were a little bit better, I'd probably have him above Brogdon.
Okay. I don't have Quickly on my list.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have Bobby Portis at 3 though. And I had this. I had him at 3 because he's started 19 games when I look at the stats. And these two guys, even though to me, I have the same number 1 as you, it's Malcolm Brogdon. A 6 man. My 2 is Malik Monk.
Okay. Interesting choice. He's definitely in my top 5. I don't think he's played well enough though to warrant a that high of a slot, but it's close. He's played well.
Yeah, like I'm not in love with my 6-man picks. But like I'm not that attached to him, but I do agree Malcolm Brogdon has not started a game this year, averaging 14.6 points, and to me, I think that was a really good trade for them because it gives them a ball handler off the bench, or a ball handler, just in general because that's what they that's what they needed at the deadline, or that's what they needed in the finals.
Yeah, and that all worked out. Let's go to Coach of the Year. This one we may differ. My number 3, Joe Mazzulla. I think he should be in everyone's top 3 because of the situation. But they were already a good team, so I don't have him that high. Then my number 2 is Mike Malone. What a year the Nuggets have had. Now the 1 seed, but he's coaching with some of the best players in the league on his team. Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon. And my number 1 in his first year with this team, Mike Brown. The Kings have been a revelation in the league, and everything they've done has been attributed, or should be attributed, to Mike Brown and his success.
Yes. So you and I agree. I have Mike Brown as the number 1. Just as you mentioned, the Kings. It's incredible. I believe longest drought ever in history. No, that's a different.
No, I don't think it's history ever.
Okay.
It's current, yes, but I don't
Current.
think ever. I don't think ever.
Okay. But yeah, and just they're number 2 in the West right now, which is just incredible. Then number 2 is Joe Mazzulla. I think you make a good point. To me, it's for sure. I was like, Mike Brown's the Coach of the Year, but I got to find 2 other guys, and Joe Mazzulla, with what he's done. But you did make a great point where he already inherited a great team, but the situation was awkward, so I give him a great job for that, and I hope he stays the coach for years to come, unless something drastic happens on or off the court. And then number 3 is Mark Daignault, the Thunder coach.
Mark Daignault, yeah, he's been good.
Yeah,
I like that pick. I like a little bit of OKC respect. OKC's been good. It does help that they have Shea on their team though to carry them,
but they got a lot of rookies, and I know they're only 10, but this is a team that's really young, and they have a great player in Shea. like you mentioned, and just a lot of other guys. And I think I think I was expecting them to be like very low. Maybe they're tanking for Wembayama, but no, they're competing for the play-in.
Yeah, and they have so many first round picks from other teams that they know they don't necessarily need to tank for them to be successful in years to come. And their starting lineup is younger than I believe it's Pitt. The University
Oh,
of
wow.
Pitt, like the team that made the
Yeah.
tournament. Their starting lineup is older than OKC's starting lineup, which I
Yeah.
find remarkable.
Yeah, the future definitely looks bright in OKC on the basketball team. Not sure about other areas in OKC.
Yeah, I'm not that in tune with OKC politics, but they got a good basketball team.
Or just like downtown, like food or other sports. Not much I can tell you. I bet there's a Loves. That's what their sponsorship.
Yeah,
sounds
I bet there is.
So yeah, what other?
Yeah, MVP.
Okay, I'd be pretty shocked if we agree on this. I'll let you go first.
Well, we'll go one by one. I'll say my three. You say your three. My three is Joel Embiid, which may be a shock to a lot of people, but he's attempting too many free throws. He's dodging the Jokic matchup. He's dodging it. They could have played in the game. Absolute dodge. It's a dodge fest. And I know that this is post that game being played, but you have to play in that game. That's a game. That's an MVP game. That is, hey, I'm better than this guy. Let me show it. Jokic is playing. Why don't you show up?
I agree with you. Joel Embiid is my three. I know he's leading the league in points per game. I'm just not a huge Joel. Like, he's a great player. I'm just not a huge Joel Embiid fan.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I get it. I fully understand. It's been Embiid is just he's not doing it for me. It's I understand he puts up the points, but attempting up 12 free throws a game is not something that I want to. It's not enjoyable to watch, and I don't know how much his value is really there when you have Harden on the team. You have Harden, you have Tyrese Maxey, you have so many other guys that are playing well, and it really makes me question the MVP status of a guy like Embiid. Who's your two?
My two is Nikola Jokic.
Okay.
I know Jokic is being incredible and his team's number one in the West, but and I also believe is he having a higher efficiency than last year?
Yes,
Okay.
easily.
I know the stats are great, but to me, this other guy is his team's doing better, and he's has a little bit more impact on the defensive side of the ball than Nikola Jokic. But I can understand why people want to put Jokic number 3 or number 1.
Yeah, I have Giannis 2, Jokic 1. Those two for me are extremely close. I know Giannis is 1 for you, like there's no question. But it's so close between those two, and it's mainly like how much do you value passing? Because Jokic is averaging 9.9 assists, and that's something we've never seen from a center before. He leads the offense. His efficiency stats are crazy. He has 28 triple doubles this season. He has 136 offensive rating. His box plus minus is almost as high as it was last year, and last year was the highest I don't think it's ever been for a player in the modern era. So I've just been thoroughly impressed with him. But Jokic, I totally understand. It's just how much do you value defense, and that's sometimes hard to equate because I think the difference, the most valuable player, not who's the better player, the most valuable player comes down to the fact that Brook Lopez is going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
And you have to equate, does that mean that Giannis is actually as valuable on defense as it seems? If he has a Defensive Player of the Year on his team, he's not even the best defender on his team where he'd be Defensive Player of the Year, right? Because
that's true.
So that's the difference for me. That's what makes the difference. Is that
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because it's most valuable.
Yeah.
It's not best. Giannis is a better player than Jokic. I will say that right now. But that's not what we're asking. We're asking who's more valuable. And Giannis playing with the Defensive Player of the Year makes me question his value over Jokic's. So I go Jokic just by the plain fact that the best defensive player in the league right now is in Milwaukee, and it's not Giannis.
Yeah, that's fair. And this is the thing where it can get difficult because I did a different, like I mentioned Jokic, but to me, Jokic has been playing incredible and his team's number one. But it's if he were to win this MVP, it would be his third MVP in a
You
row.
can't look at it like that.
I know.
It's who's
That's why I
this?
was like,
It's we're asking the question: who is the most valuable player this year? And the answer, in my opinion, is Jokic. And it comes down to, for me, the fact that Harden is amazing. So I don't think Embiid can be there because Harden is averaging almost a triple double himself every year. And then you have the defensive player of the year playing with Giannis, which makes Giannis look better on defense than he actually is. And Giannis is already good on defense, but playing with the defensive player of the year makes you better. It makes you better on defense. And while I understand, truly, I understand that Giannis is a better player, and if I had to choose one of the two, I would take Giannis. However, more valuable, the answer is Jokic.
yeah, I understand your point, and to me, it's very close right now. So I could change my answer by the end of the year when like the voting actually happens. So maybe we revisit that because when I was thinking of this, I'm like, the Nuggets were struggling, but I know they're on a 3-game win streak, and the Bucks just lost. But I think I'm gonna stick with my Giannis pick. But
Yeah, and
gonna
it's
be
it's a
tough
respectable
battle.
pick. I understand.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not.
yeah. I get, and you make great points. And like, Jokic has been incredible. I was like, man, Jokic all the way. And then I started thinking about Giannis because to me, everyone's talking about Jokic and Embiid. There aren't many people talking about Giannis, or am I just not? Am I on the
You're
wrong
right.
channel?
You're right. It's too much of the center versus center duel instead of including Giannis, who is. I mean, you could really put him in any position. I think he's really positionless. All the other two are definitely center power forward, but it is something to look at, and I'm fine with. Honestly, like, look, if Embiid wins, am I going to be mad? No, it's not that big of a deal. It still is much more important for any of these three players to have playoff success this upcoming year than winning the MVP and being an early exit. So while I do understand that, yes, Embiid, Giannis, Jokic definitely should be in the top three for probably everybody, it's hard to say who is the MVP. And we're really just, uh, it's very close. And to tell the difference between these players is very tough. And the fact that the league leader in assists, Harden, is on the 76ers. The best offensive player in the league is on the Bucks, and then Jokic doesn't have one of those. Is the reason, but again, it's very close. Also, Embiid and Jokic both played. No, not Embiid and Jokic. Embiid and Giannis both played with All Stars this past season. Drew Holiday and James Harden were both All Stars this past year, while there were none on the Nuggets. Which again, it doesn't mean that Jokic is a better player because of that, but more valuable. It could be equated.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm just gonna add a devil's advocate question. What about Jokic having a Coach of the Year candidate?
So you're asking, does it matter that a Coach of the Year candidate's up there?
Yes.
I'm gonna say no,
Okay.
because part of Coach of the Year is your record. So I don't necessarily know if Coach of the Year is always the best coach wins it. If you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because having a good record is a big thing for MVP and a big thing for Coach of the Year. So no, I don't think that matters because it's not an on. Coaches don't play. You actually have to do stuff on the court, no matter who your coach is. You have to play, and coaches don't play, and so no, I don't. I don't think that. I don't think coaches affect that at all for me, good or bad. Whether you have a good or bad coach, you can still be the most valuable player in the league. That doesn't really change with your coach, because if you're on that elite level, you're going to be played. You have to be. So
that's fair. I was being very nitpicky with that point. I was like, I'm curious what you think, but you have a great argument for Jokic, and you understand with Giannis, and I just don't really get if you're gonna go, Jokic is not the MVP. To me, you got to go Giannis. I
I
don't
agree.
understand how Embiid fits in there. Maybe I'm an Embiid hater. I just don't get Embiid's game, or just I
Here's
don't.
here's the thing. Embiid and Jokic, they would trade, and they should. Even Embiid, who hasn't won an MVP, should trade a finals run. Maybe they don't win the championship because obviously you trade an MVP for a ring, but a finals run, I think, is worth more than MVP this season for either one of those two, because it puts your name on the map. You can do it. And while Jokic has made it further in the playoffs than Embiid, Embiid's never made it to a conference finals, while Jokic has. Still, Jokic has to make a finals. He has to make a push. The problem is I don't see how a team beats the Bucks, and that's kind of a problem once we come playoff time. But that's a further conversation. This is
Oh,
MVP.
yeah, and a little bit on that. Which out of the last playoffs that Embiid has been a part of, which game or series do you consider the closest that he's ever come to, like impacting his playoff legacy?
Well, Embiid, that would have to be the series against the Raptors when they lost in 7 on a buzzer beater in 2019. But that year he was only averaging 20 points in the playoffs, so it's hard for me to equate that. And then the next year they lose in the first round, getting absolutely destroyed, not just beaten, destroyed by the Celtics in 2020. Got swept. The next year they lose obviously to the Hawks, I believe. Yeah,
Yes, that's
to the
correct. I
Hawks.
believe that was the Hacka Simmons series.
That was the Hack of Simmons series. And then the next time they lose to the Heat in 2022, they lose to the Heat. While Jokic has obviously made it to a Western Conference Finals and lost to the Lakers in the bubble. So it's up in the air, and both of them need to make a playoff push. And Giannis even a 2 rings is a lot better than 1, because 1, oh, that could be a fluke, but 2, that's when you're really putting your name in the annals of history. Because I think, for example, Hakeem, who I have very highly, and eventually, sometime, maybe during the NBA offseason, we'll do a top 10. Hakeem is in my top 5. I'll spoil that.
Okay.
But it's mainly because he doesn't just have 1 ring. He did it back-to-back years.
That's a good one. If we're gonna talk about when, yeah, I think it'd be great if Giannis got a second one, and definitely would affect his legacy. But I think he still has time. But a thing is, it's also very key that he already has a ring, so he's shown that he can win. But I think this may be the last time this group is put together with the Bucks in the playoff series, because Chris Middleton's a free agent, and I'm not sure if they re-sign him. But that's a talk for another day.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's something that needs to be touched on here.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I was just thinking of like playoffs, and I was like, it would be great if Giannis gets a second ring, and it's just incredible. But yeah, that's how we view it. Let us know what you think. If you want to make an argument for Embiid, feel free to talk to us in the comments. And that's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.